It was just a regular Tuesday morning, pouring my usual cup of coffee, when David, my son, called with news he was getting married. A part of me worried, though. His new wife, Serena, had a look in her eye, always talking about our future and the family fortune. I remembered Arthur's old saying about secrets. And then last week, when she demanded everything, she had no idea what I really controlled. Before we continue, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? I'd love to know. My name is Martha. I'm just a woman, 73 years old now, living in the quiet house Arthur and I built together, brick by brick, memory by memory. He's been gone 5 years, my Arthur. Oh, I miss him something fierce every single day. He was a funny man, clever too, always a step ahead, seeing things others couldn't. I just kept our home, raised our David, and made sure there was always a warm meal on the table. Simple life, right? That's what I thought anyway. But Arthur, he wasn't simple. Not with his work, not with his money. He had a way of doing things quiet-like that I never fully understood. He'd just smile and say, "Don't you worry your head, Martha. I've got us covered." Always. And I trusted him. I always did. After he passed, things got complicated. Not with the house, not with my pension or the little savings we had for emergencies. Those were clear. No, it was the will. Arthur's formal will, the one Mr. Henderson, our lawyer, read to David and me in his stuffy office. It was a good will, fair, left David a nice sum for his future, ensured I was comfortable. But then Mr. Henderson paused, adjusted his glasses, and said, "Now, Martha, Arthur also left you a sealed envelope. Private instructions, he called them. To be opened only if you ever felt pressured or if you needed to protect David from certain influences." I remember my stomach doing a little flip-flop. Pressured? Influences? What in the world was he talking about? I tucked the envelope away into my old cedar chest under my wedding photos. For 5 years, it stayed there undisturbed. Life, for the most part, went on. David grew up, got a good job as an engineer, and found a nice apartment. He was a sweet boy, always thoughtful. Then, about 2 years ago, David met Serena. Oh, she was pretty, no doubt about that. Bright eyes, a quick laugh, always dressed so nicely. At first, I was happy for David. He deserved someone special. She came over for Sunday dinners, brought flowers, asked me about Arthur. But slowly, little things started to niggle at me. Serena would ask questions, not just about David's day, but about our family, about Arthur's old business. Martha, she'd say, "Arthur was quite successful, wasn't he? I mean, he left a substantial estate, didn't he?" She'd say it with a smile, a casual tone, but her eyes, they'd linger a bit too long on my modest living room, on the old, comfortable furniture. I'd just shrug. "Oh, he did all right, dear. We lived a comfortable life, thank the Lord." I never thought much of it, just figured she was curious. Then came the engagement call. "Mom, I'm getting married." David's voice, full of joy, crackled over the phone. I smiled, felt a tear prick my eye. "Oh, my darling boy. That's wonderful." He told me they were planning a big wedding, wanted me involved. Serena got on the phone too. "Martha, we're so excited. David told me you're an amazing planner. And with all the family resources, we can really make it special, right? Family resources." There it was again. That phrase. It was like a little bell, clinking quietly in the back of my mind. It made me feel a bit uneasy. The wedding planning started, and Serena became a whirlwind. She had visions, grand ideas. A fancy venue, imported flowers, a dress that cost more than my first car. David, bless his heart, just wanted her to be happy. He'd look at me, a little stressed, and say, "She really wants this, Mom. It's her dream." I didn't want to be the bad guy, so I kept my worries to myself. But the questions about Arthur's money grew more frequent, more direct. "Martha, David mentioned Arthur had some investments. Will those be transferred to us after the wedding for our future?" She wasn't asking anymore. It felt like she was laying claim. One afternoon, a few weeks before the wedding, Serena and I were looking at fabric samples. She picked out the most expensive silk. "This is perfect, don't you think?" she asked, her voice sweet, but her grip on the fabric was tight. "It's lovely, dear," I said, trying to be polite. "But perhaps a bit extravagant?" She laughed, a short, sharp sound. "Oh, Martha, please. We're going to be family. With David's career and Arthur's legacy, we won't have to worry about little things like fabric costs, will we? David told me Arthur was a very smart man. He left you well provided for. I heard he even mentioned a much larger sum, something about, oh, a trust? A really big one, $52 million maybe?" My teacup clattered against the saucer. $52 million? I almost dropped it. Where in the world did she hear such a specific, enormous number? My heart started to beat a little faster. Arthur never told me about anything like that. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Arthur's mysterious envelope, the one I hadn't touched. I looked at the old cedar chest in the dim light of my bedroom. The words, "Protect David from certain influences," echoed in my head. Had Arthur known? Had he foreseen someone like Serena? My initial joy for David's wedding had completely curdled. I felt a cold knot of dread settle deep in my stomach. The wedding was just a few weeks away. I knew, without a shadow of a doubt, that I needed to find out what Arthur had truly left behind and why he had kept such secrets from me. And more importantly, I needed to understand what Serena knew and how she knew it. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was about family, about trust, and about protecting my son from something I was only just beginning to understand. I decided then and there that I would open that envelope. Soon. Very soon. The morning after Serena's casual mention of $52 million, I woke up feeling different. It wasn't just worry anymore. It was a cold, quiet determination. I went straight to the cedar chest, my hands trembling slightly as I lifted the wedding album. Beneath it, nestled in a silk scarf, was Arthur's envelope. It was thick, creamy parchment, sealed with his distinctive wax stamp, and intertwining a and M. I took a deep breath, like I was diving into deep water, and carefully broke the seal. Inside were several pages of Arthur's neat, flowing handwriting and a small, antique key. The letter began, "My dearest Martha, if you are reading this, it means you feel a need to. My love, I did things quietly, to protect you and our son, David. I saw the world, Martha, the way people change when money is involved. I wanted to build a fortress, not just a fortune." He explained that beyond his formal will, which was straightforward for immediate needs, he had established a series of complex trusts and holding companies. These weren't just about money, they were about control. A significant portion of his true wealth, the $52 million Serena had somehow discovered, was tied up in these structures. "But here's the kicker, Martha," he wrote. "While the formal documents name you as a trustee, the ultimate control, the master key, resides with you and you alone. I made sure of it. Should anyone ever try to claim what is not truly theirs or attempt to manipulate you or David through financial means, this framework will allow you to stand firm. It's designed to make it seem accessible, but impossible to seize without your explicit, legally binding consent, which can be withdrawn at any time if conditions are breached." I read on, my eyes widening with each paragraph. He detailed accounts, names of banks, and even codes. The small key, he explained, was for a safe deposit box at the old First National Bank downtown, where he kept the original, irrefutable documents and additional instructions. "Arthur, you sly fox." I couldn't believe it. He had essentially created a financial maze, with me holding the map and the ultimate power to lock or unlock the exits. This wasn't just an inheritance, it was a strategically planned defense. The very next day, I called Mr. Henderson, our lawyer. "Mr. Henderson," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, "I need to discuss Arthur's estate, specifically some additional arrangements he may have made." I didn't mention the $52 million or Serena. He sounded surprised, but agreed to meet. At his office, I handed him Arthur's letter and the key. He read through it, his eyebrows inching higher and higher on his forehead. "Martha," he finally said, his voice hushed, "this is a masterpiece of financial engineering." Arthur was a genius. This entire structure is built around protecting his assets from predatory claims, ensuring they remain under your ultimate discretion. The $52 million, and likely more, is indeed very real, but it is entirely beyond the reach of anyone but you, unless you explicitly grant access. And even then, he's set up failsafes. He explained the conditions Arthur mentioned. If David were to divorce, or if anyone tried to legally challenge my control, specific clauses would activate, making the funds even harder to access, possibly diverting them to charities Arthur had chosen. It was brilliant and terrifyingly complicated. I kept all of this a secret from David. The wedding day came, a blur of white lace, flowers, and forced smiles. Serena, radiant in her expensive gown, looked like a princess. David, my handsome boy, looked so happy. I tried to push my worries aside, to focus on the joy of the day. But I couldn't shake the feeling that a storm was brewing. After the ceremony, during the reception, Serena came up to me, her arm linked with David's. "Martha," she purred, a little too loudly, "now that we're officially family, we really should sit down and discuss the future. David and I have so many plans, and with Arthur's wonderful legacy, we can achieve anything, right?" David just beamed, oblivious. I forced a smile. "Of course, dear. We'll talk." The talk came sooner than I expected. Not even a month after the honeymoon. Serena called, demanding a meeting. "It's about the trust, Martha," she said, her voice sharp, no longer sweet. "David and I need access to those funds. We want to buy a bigger house, start a family, invest in a business opportunity David found." David, on the phone with her, sounded hesitant. "Mom, she has some good ideas. We just want to make sure our future is secure." My blood ran cold. This was it. The pressure Arthur had predicted. I felt a wave of humiliation wash over me. Here I was, his mother, being treated like an obstacle, a bank ATM. They believed they were entitled to Arthur's hard-earned money, money I now knew was under my control. I remembered Arthur's words, "Protect David from certain influences." Serena was that influence. I decided then that I would not just protect David. I would honor Arthur's legacy. I would play Arthur's game, quietly, meticulously. I agreed to meet them, but with one condition: Mr. Henderson would be present. The stage was set, and I began preparing for the ultimate showdown, guided by Arthur's clever, protective hand. It was time to show them exactly what controlling every account truly meant. The meeting was set for last Tuesday at Mr. Henderson's office. I dressed simply, a practical navy blue suit, nothing flashy. Serena, on the other hand, arrived looking like she was going to a fashion show, David trailing behind her, looking a bit uncomfortable. She wore a confident smirk, a knowing look in her eye, as if she already held all the cards. "Martha," she began, before even settling into her chair, her voice dripping with artificial sweetness, "David and I have been very patient. It's time we discuss the $52 million inheritance Arthur left. We've spoken to our own legal counsel, and they confirm that as David's wife, I have a right to discuss these matters, especially concerning our joint future." David, sitting beside her, just gave me a weak smile, avoiding my gaze. He was completely under her spell. Mr. Henderson, calm as ever, cleared his throat. "Serena, David, please, let's begin by understanding Martha's position." Serena waved a dismissive hand. "There's no need, Mr. Henderson. The money is there. It's for David and, by extension, for us. We simply need Martha to transfer it, or at least grant us co-signatory access." She pulled out a stack of papers. "We have all the account numbers, the trust fund names. We know exactly what Arthur left. We just need her to cooperate." She looked at me, a triumphant, almost pitying look. "Honestly, Martha, it's not fair for you to hoard it all. It's David's birthright." My hands were clasped in my lap, but inside, a quiet rage was simmering. Humiliation, thick and bitter, filled my mouth. Hoard it? Birthright? They had no idea. Absolutely no idea what was about to hit them. I looked at David, really looked at him. He seemed so small, so cowed by her. My heart ached for the naive boy he once was. Arthur had been right. He had to be protected. I took a deep breath. "Serena," I said, my voice quiet, but firm, "you seem to know a lot about Arthur's affairs. But I'm afraid you only know part of the story. The very, very small part. Serena laughed, a harsh, grating sound. Oh, Martha, please. Don't play games. We're past that. We have documentation. We know about the $52 million. Don't you think we've done our homework? She pushed a document across the table. It listed several trust accounts, specific amounts, even a bank in Switzerland. My God, she had really dug deep. She truly believed she had me. Yes, I said, picking up the paper, you certainly have some impressive research. But you missed one crucial detail. I looked at Mr. Henderson, who gave me a subtle nod. Mr. Henderson, if you please, show them the master document. He opened a large leather-bound folder. Serena, David, he began, his voice slow and deliberate. Arthur was a very clever man. He did indeed establish these trusts. And he named Martha as the primary trustee. But he also established something much more significant. Mr. Henderson then displayed a single, official-looking document. It wasn't about the specific trusts Serena had found. It was a declaration, a foundation, an overarching entity with a complex legal name. And under the section for ultimate authority, there was only one name. Mine, Martha Jenkins. This, Mr. Henderson continued, his voice now gaining strength, is the controlling entity. All of those individual trusts, all those accounts you've listed, they are merely subsidiaries of this single foundation. And Martha alone, is the sole, irrevocable director and signatory for this foundation. She controls every single aspect, every single asset, including the $52 million, which is only a fraction of the total. He explained that Arthur had built this structure with layers of legal protection, anticipating exactly this kind of challenge. Any attempt to legally force a transfer would trigger clauses that would liquidate the assets and transfer them to a charitable foundation, leaving nothing for David or Serena. It was Arthur's ultimate deterrent, his final act of protection. Serena's confident smile faltered. Her eyes, which had sparkled with greed moments ago, went wide, then narrowed in disbelief. David, who had been listening intently, looked from Serena to me, his face pale. What? But that's not right. Serena stammered, her voice suddenly high-pitched. We have the account numbers. We know the money is there. Yes, it's there, I said, my voice steady, feeling a quiet satisfaction blossom in my chest. No longer humiliated, but empowered. And I control every account, every single penny. Arthur built this to protect our family, to ensure that his legacy was used wisely, not squandered by someone who only saw dollar signs. Serena's face drained of color, then flushed an angry red. Her mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. She froze, seeing the truth laid bare. David, on the other hand, looked like he'd been punched in the gut. He looked at me, then at Serena, a dawning horror in his eyes. He finally understood. The room fell silent, heavy with the weight of revelation. Serena, defeated, pushed her chair back violently and stormed out of the office, muttering curses. David stayed behind. He looked at me, tears welling in his eyes. Mom, he choked out, I am so sorry. I didn't know. She told me I deserved it, that it was ours. I reached across the table and took his hand. I know, son. Arthur knew too. That's why he did this. To protect you, even from yourself sometimes. Over the next few weeks, David began to see Serena for who she truly was. They divorced quietly a few months later. It was hard for him, but he recognized the manipulation, the cold calculation. He started coming over again for Sunday dinners, talking, truly talking. We're still working on rebuilding our trust, but it's a start. I've begun to use Arthur's foundation, not just to hold the money, but to fund scholarships for young engineers, just like Arthur would have wanted. And David, he's helping me manage it, learning responsibility, understanding that true wealth isn't just about money, but about purpose and protection. Arthur, my clever, thoughtful Arthur, had truly covered us. And I, his simple Martha, had become his unlikely guardian. It's a strange thing, isn't it, how life changes? How a quiet woman like me had to become a fortress for her family. I often wonder what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have found the courage?